Few Americans have developed a clearer vision of a fair economy than Robert Reich.
The economy is awful. This is the worst economy we've had since the Great Depression. People are hurting. 25 million Americans who are underemployed, unemployed, can't find jobs. If you are a minority, if you're black, if you're Latino, it is harder than ever.
There's a bigger picture going on outside of our control that I wasn't aware of as a family. Not being able to accumulate wealth, not being able to have access to the opportunities. Why can't I progress? Why am I always going back 2 steps back instead of 2 steps ahead?
We're now in a big downturn. It's starting to affect, as Doran said, not just blacks, not just Latinos, not just Native Americans, but all of us. We have a real financial crisis.
When so much wealth and income goes to the top, you have the opportunity of the Koch brothers and others and big corporations to, out of their own selfish interests, to keep their taxes low, to make sure there are not reforms that spread the benefits of economic growth to everybody, to basically warp and unbalance society in a profound way that turns us against each other. And that's why we've got to make sure that the rich and the corporations pay their fair share, but also that they don't have disproportionate amounts of political power in our society that make it impossible for us to function and basically subordinate and subdue our First Amendment rights.
The cycle of violence and the cycle of disenfranchisement is really intense. So you have just whole neighborhoods where nobody can get a job.
They're sitting on trillions in cash. They're the richest they've been in history. We may believe that for the future of the country we need a shared prosperity, we need shared growth, but I just think we need to be crystal clear. That's not what the super rich and the big corporations believe. They think things are absolutely fine.
We've been shifting the obligation of paying for our government from the wealthy to the workers. You could not sustain the economy by having all the money in 1% of the population.
Workers are consumers. Consumers are workers. 70% of this economy is consumer spending. And so when consumers who are workers don't have jobs or are afraid of losing their jobs, and their wages are going down, and their benefits are shrinking, and their mortgage is so large that a quarter of mortgage owners are underwater, what do you expect? Consumers are not going to spend. That's rational. And by the way, for most Americans, we've never come out of the Great Recession. We're still in the Great Recession.
The corporate takeover of our country in a way that's really so violent and so abusive and so acute that it's affecting all of us across so many different neighborhoods, backgrounds, cultures, religions, etc. We really have more in common than we have differences.
What are we supporting banks for? Why do we have banks? If banks aren't serving democracy, then we shouldn't have them.
We are all struggling over a smaller and smaller share of a bigger and bigger pie. More and more of the income and wealth is going to the big corporations and to the very, very super rich in this country, and that is what has to be reversed, and that is why we have to take back America.
I don't think even a week goes by, and I'm not talking to somebody who's either losing their job or their hours are being cut to the extent that they're losing health care, or in several cases recently, losing their house.
Corporations may make a good servant, but they make a terrible master. We say banks are too big to fail, so we give them $13 trillion. With that $13 trillion, you could pay out every subprime loan, every underwater loan, every person in the United States mortgage could be paid off, and every person in the United States who doesn't have a house, we could buy them a house. But we didn't do that. Instead, we gave money to the banks. And we said, we hope you will loan. We hope you will put the money out there. And they haven't. They're not loaning to anyone, but particularly the Black and Latino communities are being devastated by the bank's refusal to loan. Instead, they're sitting on the money. And it's our money. So what we're doing is we're seeing the government being in line with business and not in line with people. We have to change that.
So I've seen a lot of minorities come into the emergency room because they didn't have health insurance.
or because they owe a bill and the clinic wouldn't see them, or they would call 911 because they didn't have transportation to get to the hospital, so they would call 911 and become an emergency room patient.
When people really get to the point where they think nothing can be done, the other side wins. That's what they want, by the way.
I just want to get out there and start empowering the people. Look, you can't fight by yourself. You can't fight these big corporations by yourself. You got to have the tools to fight against them. And that's by uniting with Take Action or various organizations that have the same belief or the same focus that I have.
We need an urgency about what we do. We need to start marrying our rhetoric about the crisis in this country for workers with our action. We need to talk about how we create a crisis for the super rich.
Agitate, and to raise awareness, because if we keep sitting back and just being Minnesota nice and we don't want to just like rock the boat, we won't get anywhere. So we have to start doing actions and just start, shaking the boat a little bit and get out of our comfort zone. And so what if it makes some people uncomfortable? That's good. That means we're doing something good.
Nothing good happens in Washington unless people outside Washington are organized and mobilized and energized to make sure that good things happen in Washington.
That's right. Yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited to continue to keep my sleeves rolled up. I'm excited that it's not just about me, that it's a whole bunch of brothers and sisters going to join us in this fight. So I'm excited to continue this movement.
I think what you're going to find starting in the middle of September is it's going to sweep the country, that more and more people are taking action in Seattle, in LA, in San Francisco, in Chicago, in New York, in Boston. It's all starting to happen. And I think coming out of this meeting, the challenge is, are we going to make it happen here? Because I think what you do here in Minnesota, for all the reasons we've talked about, is really critical. So brothers and sisters, this is our mission, this is our challenge, this is our cause. In our lifetimes, not a year, to start doing this in Minnesota, in every city around the country, we can build something extraordinary. We can create a new world from the ashes of the old, for those who know your great labor songs. This is our time. Thank you very much.